Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. This episode is meant as a quick introduction to this channel and what to expect of it, and serves as an overview of the publication history of the X-Men. This channel primarily focuses on the X-Men and X-related titles, published by Marvel Comics over the years up to 1991. It all began in 1963 with the X-Men #1. Featuring Professor X in his iconic wheelchair opening up his mansion to Cyclops, Angel, Beast, Iceman, and Marvel Girl. Eventually new characters, who will occasionally join their ranks, will become part of the storylines, such as Banshee, Mimic, Havoc, and Polaris. In March of 1970, the last original story was published with issue 66. And in December 1970, with the publication of X-Men 67, Marvel started reprinting stories from the past issues, due to the lack of sales of this title. In May of 1975, Giant Size X-Men #1 came out, featuring a newly recruited team consisting of Banshee, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Sunfire, and Thunderbird. These all-new X-Men had been recruited by Professor X to aid Cyclops in liberating the other original members, Angel, Beast, Marvel Girl, and Iceman, along with newer recruits Polaris and Havoc, who were all being held in captivity. The new team was successfully in doing so, and after returning to the mansion, Sunfire, Marvel Girl, Angel, Iceman, Polaris, and Havoc had all decided to stop being X-Men. For the next several years, the X-Men find themselves fighting several older new powerful enemies. They also find themselves losing members along the way, both due to having other interests as to death. Enemies they battle include the Sentinels, the Juggernaut and Black Tom, Magneto, the Petrified Man and the Savage Land Mutates, Sauron, Firelord, the Shi'ar Empire and its Imperial Guard, Arcade, Mystique's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Belasco and Sim, the Dark Phoenix, the Hellfire Club's Inner Circle, the Seedry, Alpha Flight, the Shadow King, Proteus, and the Brood. While the X-Men are battling the Brood and Shi'ar in outer space, back on Earth, Professor X is joined by young kids, all displaying mutant abilities and all of them in dire need to have a tutor who is well versed in teaching young mutants how to control their overwhelming newfound powers. At first very reluctant to yet again take teenagers under his wing and putting them in harm's way, trying to save a world that hates and fears them, Professor X agrees to help these kids. This time he opens the doors to his mansion, more so as a school and a safe haven for these kids, rather than a strike force against evildoers. These kids will become known as simply the New Mutants. And since kids will be kids, curfews will not always be respected if their friends are in danger, rules will often be bent if not broken, and fights will not be shunned, especially when bullies are around. Eventually the X-Men return home from outer space. They weren't dead after all, even though everyone on Earth pretty much thought they had died, especially Professor X. How both teams will interact and how Professor X reacts to his previous students being alive, all resulting in an unexpected climax, are stories covered in books in both of these series. Over the years, both teams of the X-Men and New Mutants will have their individual adventures, as well as interactions on personal levels between members in both teams. At a certain point in time, another team is born, with very familiar faces. The miraculous return of one individual results in the gathering of old friends and lovers, and they decide to become part of an active mutant landscape again. Some of these characters had been active in other superhero teams, This is, however, the first time in years that they're all together again in one team. This team will be called X-Factor. Stories in the series will run parallel to the other two titles. The individual stories in all three of the series will build up to a climax, the crossover known as the Mutant or Morlock Massacre. It's a story that will have pretty huge ramifications for the coming years. All teams involved will change and mature in their respective ways. Also, another team will be created out of this crossover, the team called Excalibur. Because Excalibur as a team will be located in Great Britain, their adventures will be mostly separate from the United States-based team for a very long time. There will be elements of interaction with the US-based teams and also continuity based on early adventures, mainly due to some members being former X-Men. Going forward, there will be a lot of changes. Each team, apart from Excalibur, will become dismantled, or at the very least highly influenced, by the fall of the Mutants and Inferno storylines. Then, in the publication year of 1991, following crossovers like Extinction Agenda and the Muir Island Saga, but also Battles on the Moon and within the Shi'ar Empire, some characters will find new homes. Also, old friends and rivals will become team members again. The New Mutants as a team and series will get evolved into X-Force, where they will take a more proactive role as a strike force under a new leader. The original members of X-Factor will join the X-Men, and the new assembly of characters will become the X-Factor team, trying to work alongside the government to better the mutant and human relationship on a political level. Over the years, Marvel published a lot of limited series involving the mutant characters. Some of these have an interesting story with ramifications in other series. They also published a solo title for Wolverine after having published a limited series. The main focus of this channel will be the continuous team books, but whenever necessary, the limited series or the solo series will get mentioned. This is as far as the introduction video will go. The goal for this channel is to guide you all along on this road of X-Men continuity over the years. From 1982 onwards, I will be making videos covering all years of publication per team. So one video for the X-Men and one video for the New Mutants. Regarding the X-Men team, I will also be making videos covering every year going back in time, eventually hitting 1975 and all the way back to 1963. I'll be mentioning important happenings and covering battles with their enemies, along with intrigues, plotlines, etc. I will be showing panels and pages of the comics and will also inform you guys on the artists and the writers. Feel free to use the comment section to have a discussion on the art and the story, but I would like to ask you to please try and refrain from spoilers for all the viewers who are new to these stories. Thanks for watching this video and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, because that will help me out in growing this channel and being able to produce more videos. See you next episode.